Hello and welcome to the Fuel, Run, Recover podcast, where we are now in our third season of helping everyday runners fuel better, run smarter, and recover faster so you can reach your full performance potential. I'm your host, Stephanie Natchuk, dietitian, running coach, twin mom, and fellow runner too. As the owner of Stephanie Natchuk Performance Nutrition, I've spent over a decade helping runners learn to fuel their bodies better, unlock their best running performances, and establish healthier relationships with food and exercise. This podcast is all about helping you become the very best runner you can be by teaching you the running-specific nutrition, training, and recovery strategies that you need to reach all your wildest health, fitness, and running goals. If you're ready to reconnect with your love of running, join me each week as I share my best advice, interview guest experts, and talk to everyday runners who are conquering their goals by tapping into the power of performance nutrition, with a side of some myth busting too. And if you're looking for even more tips, resources, and strategies for runners, you can find me on Instagram at Steph the Runner's Dietitian or by visiting www.stephanienatchuk.com. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Start today's episode, I just want to really quickly invite you to download my free fueling guide and strength training guides for runners. Currently available as a handy little bundle for you all in one at the link in the show notes. So just to give you more information, in this free fueling guide, you're going to find my top fueling tips for runners. As well, in there, I've put together some meal ideas and even a couple of recipes for your pre and post run fuel. We've also got some suggestions for what to fuel with during your run to make sure that you just have the best overall performance possible. If you've really been struggling to understand what to eat, when, where to start when it comes to supporting your running with better nutrition, this guide is here to help you kickstart your running journey. The other guide that I mentioned is my strength training guide for runners. We know that runners are notoriously bad at consistently getting their strength training in. So this guide includes both a PDF resource, it's got some tips, some guidelines, as well as a link to my series on YouTube where I walk you through all the exercises in this program, giving you some suggestions on proper form, how to modify if needed, how to progress things if needed. This is a really great beginner's guide to strength training for runners who want an effective but efficient full body workout that is going to support the key muscles and movements you need to run stronger and help stay injury free. So once again, both of these guides are available as a handy little bundle. So you just click on the link in the show notes, enter your email address once, and both of the free guides are going to get sent to your inbox right away. I really hope that you find these guides helpful and that they support you and your running goals in the most effective way possible. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fuel, Run, Recover podcast, where I am very excited to be joined by the one and only Allie Green. You will find her on Instagram as the Smiley Miler. And she's here today to share her story of finding the love of running that I think she always knew was in there, which we're going to talk about today. And, you know, just what she's been up to so far on her running journey these past couple of months, but very busy couple of months. So welcome, Allie.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on here.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So, you know, before we kind of dive into everything that I wanted to chat about with you today, I would love for you to just share a little bit of like yourself, your story, kind of how you got into running. Just tell everyone about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Allie. I'm 22 years old. I recently graduated from Emory University, and I'm taking a year off between college and grad school. I'm working as a preschool teacher. I am attending Boston University's Master's in Mental Health Counseling in the fall to become a therapist. And my goal is to work with athletes in the mental health field because I feel that there is a very big gap in that area. And I have such a passion for running and for promoting mental health that the idea of combining the two just seems like the perfect job for me.
I
So,
love that. I
yeah.
love that. And you know what I always say is like, if you get out into the world and you can't find the job that you want, you just make it for yourself. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did when I graduated. I was a dietitian and a personal trainer. And at the time, like we're talking a long time ago, at the time, like that wasn't really a thing. You know, you didn't see a lot of people who were like doing kind of both roles or like fitness centers and gyms and stuff who are like also hiring dietitians, having it integrated in this way. I know that's like
Mhm.
everyone and their dog is doing that stuff now, but you know, I'm old and back then it was different. So yeah, if you don't see the job you want advertised, you just make it and there you go. So no matter what
Exactly.
you end up doing, you'll be very successful. But how did you personally find running and kind of get into running for yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up a big athlete. I basically played probably every single sport. In elementary school and high school, I played lacrosse, basketball, softball. I did it all. But then my main sport ended up being softball, and I was a very competitive softball player. I almost played in college and then decided to go a different route and kind of enjoy more of the college experience. But I was mainly recruited for my running. I have always been known as a faster runner for whatever sport I played, but it was never my main sport. It was always just like on the side running. Um, so I never just did running. And then in college, when I wasn't playing any sports anymore, I started to like recreationally run with some friends. It was just like here and there, though. It wasn't really anything that I was like very passionate about. And then post college, I kind of continued running and just when I was running outside by the beach by my house, I just kind of fell in love with it. And then I continued it and decided that I wanted to go further with races and actual training. I knew I wasn't really doing anything right, and I knew that I wanted to continue running, but I knew that if I didn't do it right, I was probably going to hurt myself. So, yeah, that's really my running story. I've been running for a while, but it was never really my main thing until recently.
Yeah, okay. And so you said that like you knew, pretty early on this journey of yours that you weren't necessarily doing some things properly, which is very wise and something that takes a lot of runners a very long time to clue into, and sometimes years of heartbreak and injuries and just all kinds of stuff until they finally, wake up one day and realize that they're making some pretty big mistakes. So when and how did it happen for you that you realized that you really needed some help with your running, the nutrition, the training? Like what was sort of going on for you that made you realize that you just weren't making the progress you wanted to alone?
Yeah, so I I think the biggest thing that made me reach out to a coach was I have a history of like I am recovered from an eating disorder, so I have a history of disordered eating, and I knew that going into like more hardcore training, I just like didn't know anything. And I noticed that with as I increased my running, like I didn't understand like the proper macro needs. I didn't know anything and I kind of didn't want to do it by myself because I thought if I went down this road and I just like became obsessed with it, um, would I go down like Google's crazy, like you could find crazy things. I'd worked with dietitians before because of my past and I really enjoyed it. I love learning and I love learning about how I can just better myself in general. And it was not really feeling the greatest. And I didn't really know that at the time. But then once I started working with you and I felt the difference in my training with the proper nutrition, with the proper training of like different types of runs and things like that and strength, I kind of can look back and be like, wow, I can't believe I ever thought that feeling was like my best. I'm just feeling so much better now. But yeah, mainly just like not wanting to go into past habits and also just not really knowing anything.
Yeah, yeah. So just like you don't know what you don't know. right? And I think for anybody starting out, especially, with big running ambitions like you have, which we're going to talk about what you've got kind of coming up this year, but um, I want to talk about what you said there a little bit more. You mentioned that like you didn't realize how good running could feel. Like you thought that you felt pretty good until you started fueling your body a bit better, a bit more adequately. And then it was like, oh my goodness. So tell us a little bit more about that, because I think that that is something that a lot of people like do not appreciate or kind of recognize, that you might think what you're doing right now is great, fine, adequate, whatever, but maybe it isn't, especially if it's dramatically different than like what any professional in this space would recommend.
Yeah, so I can go out for a 10-mile run and it feels like how a 4-mile run used to feel.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Um,
okay.
I'm ending the run not tired, feeling like I could keep going. I've been able to do recently because I'm trusting that, like going slower, but like negative splits in my workout. Um, but like when I started out running, I run in the mornings and I wasn't like properly having a good like high carb snack before my runs, and so I would just like feel like blah at the end, like tired, and then tired all day too, because I know like even just having like eating before a workout can affect the entire day. Um, but yeah, now even after like for example in my long run on Saturday, I think it was like ended up being around 10.6 miles. I had so much energy the rest of the day to do like so many things. I went into town with my friend. We walked around. Like I was just like bursting with energy all day. And I was even reflecting that day, like a couple months ago, if I would run like 5 miles, I would just be so exhausted all day. But like I thought that was normal because, oh, I ran this morning. But that's like you should still be able to do your daily life activities because running shouldn't take away from your life. It should add to your
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think too, like there's sort of this mindset that you see with a lot of, running community and just sort of fitness community at large, is that like exercise is supposed to be exhausting. Like if you have energy left at the end of a workout, it means that you didn't give enough, right? You didn't push hard enough, you didn't work hard enough. And what we're trying to do with proper fueling and a proper approach to training that has balance of easy and hard so you can recover, like looking at this not from a kind of no pain no gain perspective, but from a more balanced, more sustainable perspective, is that you should not be finishing every single workout feeling like you just got hit by a bus, because like that isn't sustainable and also doesn't really create a love of running, in my opinion.
Exactly. And like I run before work every day and I work in a preschool. I have to have so much energy for my kids who ask me to do a million things every second. And I'm running 6, 7, 8, 9 miles before school. And then I go and I have so much energy to have fun with my kids. And it's just like the greatest feeling versus being like exhausted at work. That's not how I want to feel.
Yeah, and I think too, being a morning exerciser, you finish up and it's like, wait, you mean I still have to like do something else today? Like I
Yeah.
still, like that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's two really good lessons in there for everybody listening. Like number one is, of course, you don't know how good running can feel, and until you do take kind of that proper approach to fueling and training. But the second thing is that like every single workout is not meant to completely exhaust you. And, we see a lot of trends like right now, it being January, we're recording this early January. Um, so many trends coming out, like lots of fitness challenges and, really like that 75 hard that's out there. And like all of these things that people are kind of picking up on in the new year that are meant to be like really difficult and really test your limits. And while I think that there's like a time and a place for challenging ourselves, with something as repetitive and as like hard on the body as running can be, we can't go all in on running as much as we can, as hard as we can every single workout, because we will get burnt out, injured, like completely sidelined from our goals. Other places that we can challenge ourselves, other ways we can mix it up and add in challenge to our workouts and challenge to our lives for that, mental expansion. But to do it solely on running is just not a great idea.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of realize that like this maybe isn't that sustainable the way I'm doing it. If I have bigger things I want to accomplish, then I probably need to work with someone in a more professional capacity. So you started on this journey and we started working together in the fall, which has been so exciting to see, all the things you've accomplished in that time. What on your end were some of the kind of most impactful lessons that you kind of picked up so far along the way?
Um, okay, well, working with you, obviously the biggest thing is the nutrition part. I think that changed everything for me, prioritizing carbs over things like still having enough protein and everything, but just carbs are giving me so much energy and then fueling like throughout the day, like constantly because I know at least for me and I know many others running sometimes can um make you feel not hungry right after, but like still knowing that I have to eat. And then something that I'm recently been better at, but not sprinting every workout and not going hard every workout. And um, easy runs, easy has made it so much easier to increase my mileage and hit the miles that I'm hitting every week without injury. And then also rest and recovery is just as, if not more important than the actual running training, in order to meet my goals. Yeah, and then just embracing the fun. Like I get so excited the night before to go on a run the next morning because it's just so much fun. And remembering to remember my why and listening to my body because I don't want to burn out and ever take away that why. Um, running just makes me so happy and feel so free.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so tell us like some of the specific things that you've been doing differently. So you had mentioned first that, the fueling was a big part of it and just like learning about proper fueling, incorporating more fuel. So, from like old Allie to new Allie, what are some of the things that you've done differently with your eating lately?
Um, I've been on a bagel a day kick. My sandwiches for lunch have turned into bagels. Um, really just adding in like a lot more carbs. Like
Yeah.
I love to have a bowl of oats at night since I run so early in the morning. I always eat before, but I don't typically have like a full breakfast before I run. And I have the breakfast after. But like a bigger bowl of oats after dinner just to enhance my energy for the morning. Understanding like intra run fueling.
Yep.
So like taking gels. I tried dates the other day, which was good. And the importance of that, didn't even know what a gel was before I started with you. So, I've been really prioritizing hydration too and taking electrolytes. And I've seen a really big difference in my energy throughout the day with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then same thing, you mentioned some of the specifics around the training, like not sprinting every workout as fast as you possibly can. Like just understand that there's sort of a rhyme and a reason for working on varying speeds and varying gears with your running. But slowing down on those easy runs as well just opens up the capacity for being able to do more. And I think that's something else that you kind of shared that a lot of people are missing from their training is there's just too much of the same. Like it's the same distances, the same paces, the same strength workouts, like everything, right? Is just so repetitive that they're not building fitness or making progress. We need to vary it up. And that doesn't mean that every week we're doing a totally different workout and like doing something completely brand new, but just being able to progress little by little, add a little more, add a little more,
Mhm.
add a little more, whether it's volume, intensity, weight, etc. And that's how we really build strength and build fitness is just, small increments at a time. So what's been your experience with shifting? Because you can tell us about the workouts you were doing before, like what your running was looking like previously, and kind of what we've shifted to now and how that's gone for you.
Yeah, so before I started working with you, I was kind of running like every other day, the same amount and the same pace. And it was 6 to 7 to 8 miles every other day. It wasn't easy pace because it wasn't zone 2, but it wasn't like sprinting. It was like, I don't know, zone 3. It
Mm-hmm.
was like a lot of more effort, but not sprinting. And yeah, I wasn't really getting anywhere. It was just the same thing. And then when I started working with you and you told me how much slower my easy runs should be, I was like, that's like
You're
walking.
like, this girl is
At
crazy.
first,
What have I signed
yeah,
on
like why
for?
would I do
This is
that?
terrible.
Like that's just gonna make me slower. But and it was hard at first. I think my first easy run I didn't do it. But it got a lot
This
easier
is
and
turning into a
actually
confessions episode.
well, one is it got actually really enjoyable because then like I was never running easy enough where I could like sing out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to sing out loud each mile and it was like I was just like jogging, looking at the sunrise. Like it was really nice. And then I also started to notice, wow, I can now really crush my track workout the next day because I'm not burnt out from yesterday. And then, oh, I can do another run the next day and I can actually finish this 13-mile long run and not feel like exhausted at the end because I ran it at an easy pace and I just need to get my body used to running at this like
Yeah.
distance. Pro easy runs all the way.
Yeah.
Staying in the 130 heart rate and yeah.
Yeah, love it, love it. So in terms of, obviously the training is feeling good, the fueling is feeling good, like, you're getting those day by day kind of week by week results of just, being able to accomplish your workouts and feel good about them and all of that kind of stuff. Um, but there's been more to your journey than just the training so far. We've had a couple of races along the way too, and not that I necessarily want to like focus in on those too much because that's not what it's all about at the end of the day. But what sort of outcomes or results have you seen so far that have been really exciting for you, either in terms of the races you've run or anything else?
First, my 10K was awesome to see. I did not expect those results. It was really fun. And I really, yeah, I went in not really expecting to do as well for me, as I did. And it was just amazing to see how far I had come. And I think at that point, we had only been working together for a month and a half ish. And to see like, wow, I just did that. I crossed that finish line and at that pace, and I can really just do anything I put my mind to. That was amazing. And then my half marathon, that was so fun. And I was really happy with my finishing time too. Especially going in with that little hip issue that I had. Um, but I think really just like how my love for running has just continued to grow. And with like the increase in workouts and higher mileage and stuff, I kind of would think like not that I would ever dread it, but like it would get harder, but it's really just gotten easier and so much more fun. And I just get so excited before every run. And I think that's the biggest thing is just how my love for it has just grown.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so what is something that has really like surprised you along the way? Like what's the most surprising thing that you've learned so far?
I don't know if this is surprising, but the importance of listening to your body.
Okay, okay.
Um, I always knew this and I always preached this, but I had a little hip issue and taking one extra rest day really would have benefited me when I didn't before my half marathon. But then, no, I did before the 10K. I didn't before my half marathon. I ended up taking the Friday off and didn't do the shakeout run, and I was like thinking in my head, like, oh God, this is just gonna ruin everything. And then on Saturday, I didn't feel it. I've been feeling that hip issue for like 3 weeks. And I was like, if I just took one day, literally one day in that 3 weeks, I wouldn't have been having this hip issue every single run for the training. Yeah, so I guess I always knew that listening to your body was important, but to see actual evidence of just one day being such a big difference, that was pretty surprising.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think that listen to your body. Just like, I think it's something it's very easy for us to say that, right? And like, if you've been in a position where you have like a little super minor thing, and I remember you saying to me so many times, you're like, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's like I can feel it, but it doesn't hurt. It's like, okay. But and I can say that, like, I felt the same way, say like during pregnancy, right? Everyone tells you like you have to just listen to your body, listen to your body. It's like, but I don't know. Like, I'm too up in my head about it now. Like, am I listening to my body and like still going out and doing the thing, or am I listening to my body by not, like, I have no idea what my body is telling me right now. And it's very hard to like dissect and kind of pull apart, like, what what do I feel like I should do? What do I want to do mentally? And then what is my physical body say? Like, that's very, very hard, especially when you're a person who's very disciplined, routine oriented, structured. Like, to miss a run when your routine is that you wake up at 5 in the morning or whatever time, and you go and you do your workout and that's it. Like, to not do that is very weird. And so it's partially like giving up the routine that feels as jolting as like skipping something because of an injury. Like, it just throws you off entirely. So it feels safer to continue to do the thing, even if maybe listening to your body would tell you, like, it's complicated. And I feel like after going through a pregnancy and all of that, I think I said maybe even on a podcast episode that I was not ever going to tell people to listen to their bodies ever again because I don't know what that means anymore. That's a tough one. Yeah, all right. So, if someone's listening to this episode and is like really resonating with what you've shared, kind of your story, your struggles, your challenges, what advice would you have for them if they're like, hey, Allie from 6 months ago sounds a lot like where I am right now? What would you tell them?
I would tell them easy runs easy was a huge thing for me. Um, two, many, most of the grammar, most of
Mhm.
the time, it's a mental game alongside the physical part of running. If you're running with the mindset of I can't finish this mile or I can't finish this race, you probably won't. But if you change that to I can, it makes the biggest difference. I can actually run this last mile. Like in my half marathon, I was the last 3 miles having the worst cramps and I really just wanted to stop. It's like in my leg. But I just kept on telling myself like I can, I can, I can. And I kept on going at a pretty good pace and I ended up finishing. Um, three, I think long term everything because you can get caught up in like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like I just started running. I want to run a marathon next week. Um, but if you love running so much, which I do, I want to be able to run for the next 100,000 years. So I am not rushing all of my goals because one, I want to do them at my best capacity, and two, I want to continue to do them. I don't want to just run one marathon and then hurt myself and be done and just be
Yep.
proud of that. I want to run many. And that's even with the training. Like, don't sprint your first track workout and then get injured. It has to gradually get there. Joy in the running because that's what's going to keep you going long term. Because if you get burnt out, if you start to dread it, it's not fun anymore. And then there's really no point in doing it because I feel like the main reason should always just be the joy. Um, and you don't. I love running in my cute little fun outfits and stuff like that. But all you need is one pair of running shoes and any clothes. Just get out there and just start. You don't need 100 pairs of shoes that you might see influencers online have and the cutest outfits and every pair of sunglasses and the fanciest gear. All you need is yourself and a pair of shoes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think it's so important, especially in like, kind of our, social media sort of influencer world, that it can feel like if you don't have this thing, or like you need this thing, or you need to be buying this brand of clothing, right? Like you need to be, and like there's a case to be made for, buying good quality gear that's going to
Yeah.
last you a long time and not cause you like problems and chafing and all that kind of stuff, blisters in your shoes and whatever. But there's also sometimes, we can definitely get caught up and sucked into like needing kind of the latest and needing all the fanciest gear. And like full confessions, like I do not have 100 pairs of running shoes. I have two brands that I like. And that's about it. Like I'm not somebody who has like a big closet full of shoes like you see some people having. um
Yeah.
I would just find it too hard to keep track of like what I've worn and what I've not worn and what I like for this and that
Yes.
and the other thing. But yeah, and same with all the fancy gear and tech and stuff like that too. But yeah, so tell us what you have coming up now, because you've got some big things on the horizon. So yeah, tell us all about what you've got planned for 2025.
Yes. So for 2025, on the calendar so far is I have a half marathon in April, the Cheshire, Connecticut one, and then I'm running the Chicago 2025
Hmm.
marathon, which will be my first marathon. I'm very,
Hmm.
very excited for that. I'm hoping, like, within that I'll have a couple other races, like, alongside the training. Hopefully one or two more halves, and then maybe 10K, 5K thrown in there. But those are the two confirmed ones that I'm racing.
Very exciting, very exciting. And so where can people find you, connect with you, support you? Because you are also doing some fundraising for the Chicago Marathon, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
I
Okay.
am. I am fundraising with No Stigmas, which is a mental health organization that raises money to reduce the stigma about mental health. And yeah, so I'm on Instagram with the Smiley Miler, and that fundraising link is in my
All
bio.
right. Fantastic. Well, I am super excited, of course, to see what you do this year and be there to help support and guide along the way. But I mean, you know, you take somebody who's incredibly determined and disciplined and ready to do everything with a smile on her face, and it definitely makes it easy. So thank you so much, Allie, for joining me today. I think that your story, is really important because there's so many people, definitely people that I talk to every single day who are struggling with like running a lot, running consistently, but the workouts aren't feeling good. They're not making progress. They're not fueling, whether it's intentional or unintentional, that they're not fueling adequately to support their training. But like you said, there's just so much bad information out there online about fueling as a runner. There's been just like in the last couple of days, there's been a threads. I want to call it a tweet, but I know that's not what it is anymore. Floating around of like somebody saying that like you absolutely should not use any fuel whatsoever for a half marathon. And it's like, well, but and then
I
people,
saw that
did you
too.
see it? Yeah.
Well, not the recent one, but when I was searching it up a while ago, and I was like, what? But I'm taking three.
But this is the thing, right? Is you've got some person. Now, I don't know I have no idea who this person is, if they're a coach, if they're a runner, if they're just a troll, who knows? But they're out there like putting that out there on the internet. And you're going to have like for every person who sees that and brushes it off and thinks, well, this person's an idiot, they don't know what they're talking about. You're going to have 10 other people who see that and they're going to immediately start to second guess or question. Now, of course, the amount of fuel that you need to take to run your half marathon varies dramatically depending on how long it takes you to run a half marathon. That's the most important thing. Whether you take 3 gels or 7 gels, right? It depends on how long you're going to be running for. But the point is, like when you go down that rabbit hole searching for nutrition information or even training advice and training information, it's a tough world out there. And so, kind of hearing from people who have put in this work into finding the right answers, learning those lessons. Yeah, they're going to be specific and different for every single person, but it makes such a big difference. So thank you so much, Allie, for coming on here and sharing your story with us today. All right. So yes, please connect with Allie over on Instagram. You'll find her at the Smiley Miler. And if you are so inclined to support the No Stigmas fundraising campaign as well, going into the Chicago Marathon, then I know that Allie and everyone there would really appreciate it. So that is it for today's episode. I want to thank you so much for spending some time hanging out with me and Allie today and listening to us chat. I am sure we'll have Allie back again, post Chicago Marathon. And maybe we'll plan a follow-up episode to hear how it all went and, planning her fueling and hydration and all of those things for her big day. All right. Thanks again. And we will see you right back here next week. Bye for now. The information on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not to be used or relied upon for diagnosis or treatment of any health condition. This information does not create a client-practitioner relationship and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice.